All right, welcome to San Diego Unified Office Skills Training video series, Tips and Tricks. In this video, we're going to talk about how to share a Google Doc. So here I am in my sandy.net Google Drive, and I'm going to go find the Google Doc that I would like to share, and we'll go over all the different ways that you can share that. So inside my practice folder here, I just drill down on that by double clicking. And I see here's the file that I would like to share. And so I'm going to go ahead and open it up at this point by double clicking on it. And up here in my browser, you can see that it's opening up. And here we are in the Google Docs user interface. And here we have our practice Google Doc that we would like to share. And so there's a couple different ways to do this, but what we're going to do at this point is just go up here to the share icon at the top right. We're going to click on it. And we see that we have a couple different ways that we can share this. So the first thing it's saying is we can add people and groups. If you have a single individual, you can simply just put in their email address. If you have a whole group from your office or from your school site, for example, that you want to add, maybe you'll have a list of email addresses. You can simply copy and paste those into there. For our purposes, we're going to use our practice trainers. And we've got a few of them here. Trainer T1, John Lennon. Trainer T2 is Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Ringo Starr. I'm going to go ahead and click on Trainer T1 right now. And we're going to allow Trainer T1 to be an editor of this practice Google Doc. And so at this point, I can type out a message if I want to let John know what this is and saying, here you go, John, this is the Google Doc that we need to work on. For our department or our school site. And then all I have to do is click send. But before I do that, I wanted to point out I have a couple of different options. If John's not to be an editor, perhaps we just want to send it to someone and they're just a viewer, just so that they can see what this particular document is. Or we may want to make them a viewer, but also be able to make comments where they can actually say, hey, this looks pretty good. I would change a couple things. How about this and that? And so we have those options. We're going to go ahead and keep John an editor at this point. But before we actually do that, I wanted to point out one other feature that we have here, and that's this little settings button right here. So I'm going to click on that real quick. And so what it's saying is we have some options when we share this. So if this little box here is checked as it is right now, then an editor such as Trainer T1, John Lennon, can change permissions and share. That means that Trainer T1 can actually turn around and share this practice Google Doc with other staff members, a whole group of them or just one or two, and also change whether they're allowed to view it or they're allowed to edit it, whatever. We're allowing editors to do that if this is selected. If I don't want Trainer T1 to have that permission, then I can simply just deselect that, and that will be that. When I have those that are just viewers and or viewers and commenters, if you want them to be able to download, print, or make a copy of, in this case, our practice Google Doc, then this will need to be selected here. If I don't want them to be able to download it, print it, or make a copy of this Google Doc, they're simply just going to look at it as viewers and make comments, I can deselect this check mark, and that will control it so that they cannot do those things. So where did I get to that from? Just right up here in our little settings icon. So at this point, I like what I see here, and I'm going to go ahead and just say send. All right. So this particular document, it says up here, person added, has now been shared with Trainer T1, our pretend colleague and coworker, John Lennon. All right. There is another way to do this. And so if I go back here to this previous tab, and we're back in the practice folder where we found our sharing practice, our practice Google Doc right here. Instead of opening it up and actually doing it right here in the Google Docs user interface, we can actually do it right here in Drive. And so if I click on any one of these with a single click, I am selecting them to be able to do some different things to them. And so you'll see up here that there's no icons in this empty space here, but as soon as I select it, there's a few choices here. Right here is where I can get a link, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Here's where I can share, and then a number of other things. And when you see an ellipsis like this, it just means there's more menu items available to you. Well, I can get those same things just by right-clicking on, in this case, our practice Google Doc. And then I can simply go over here to where it says share, and I can click share to go back to our sharing dialog box. So as you recall, we made trainer T1, John Lennon, an editor, but now we'd like to add a few more. So I'm going to go ahead and type in there, and this list that pops up is just basically the last people that you worked with when you were sharing something. And so since I've been practicing this, I have my pretend trainers here that I'm going to share this with. So let's go ahead and add Paul McCartney to that. I'll hit the letter T again to get the next one, George Harrison, and why not? Let's let Ringo play with this. And at this point, I can make them all editors, or I can make them all viewers or viewers and commenters. We're going to go ahead and leave them as editors right now. Again, if I want to write out a message for them, I can. And of course, I can always go up here at this point and start changing those settings up there. But we're going to leave those the same for now. And I'm just going to say send. All right. So what that means now, when I right click on this and I go back to share, is that all 4 of these individuals now have the ability to edit our practice Google Doc. And so that means we could all be working on this simultaneously. One of the best benefits about anything Google is that it all happens up in the cloud on the internet. And as long as we have an internet connection, and if we've been given editor rights to something, then we have the ability to be able to go in and edit that document. We could either do it at the same time or on our own time. And now that we've shared with those individuals, if for any reason we want to remove someone from it, we can simply click their name and go down here and click remove and get rid of them. But there are some other options. We could just give them temporary access just for a short while. And they could make them editor or a viewer and commenter, and just give them temporary access with that. If we want to, for some reason, we want to make Sir Paul McCartney the new owner of this document instead of myself, then we could always transfer ownership. But I'm going to go ahead and just remove this one. And so now we just have it shared with those 3. And so again, I can come in here to George Harrison and say, you're now just a viewer. And if I want to, go to Ringo Starr and say, you're a viewer and a commenter. And oh, why not? Let's go over here to John Lennon and give him temporary access and see what that looks like. So now we've given John Lennon temporary access as a viewer or commenter. And we have some choices here. So access expires in 30 days. If we want to, we can make those changes right there. Or we could just remove the expiration however we want to do it. We'll go ahead and give them 30 days and say that sounds pretty good and say close. So now each one of those are a little bit different the way that it's set up. And I'm going to go ahead and say save to save those changes. And now when I right click on this and I go back to share, we will see our changes. Sir Paul McCartney's been removed. John Lennon has just a short amount of time that he has to do it. And then, of course, we've got George Harrison and Ringo Starr with their particular permissions. And again, if we want to change anything at any time, we can always go back and make someone an editor. And all we have to do to make those changes permanent is just click save. So I'll go ahead and click save. So at this point, all we've done is shared with a few individuals, and we've done some of the changes in sharing. Let's go back to share again. And there are some other options. So this might be a document that, yes, we want some people to help us construct this document, some of our coworkers, but maybe it's something that we need to share with people in the district. And so if we look down here, we see that it says restricted, only people added can open with this link, because that's all we've done so far. But if I click on this blue link here, I can share it with anyone in San Diego Unified, or stated differently, anyone with a sandy.net email address. Then if they have that email address, when they open up their drive and or they get a hold of this link, then they can click on the link and be able to open this up. And what's interesting is there's a lot of people in our school district. And so anyone with this particular link is able to be a viewer. You could also make them a viewer and a commenter. You could also make them an editor. Now that sounds a little silly to have thousands of people trying to edit the same document, but at least that's an option that is available to us. So that's pretty cool. So anyone in the district, so all I'd have to do at this point is copy this link, and then I could add that link to an email that I send out, or blast everyone in our department or our school site or something like that, so that they can then access this and then be able to view that document if that's what it is we're trying to do, or view it and comment. But what if we're at a school site and we have a particular document that we want our parents to see, or maybe some of the students to be able to have access to? If we copy this link and they don't have a sandy.net, the students would, because they have a sandy.net email address, and so they would be able to view it. But anyone that doesn't, such as a parent that's not an employee of the district, wouldn't be able to view that. But if you see this little more button here, we have the option of actually saying anyone on the internet with this particular link can view this. And so now I've changed the way this works, and I can just click done and set that. So I can copy this link and I can put it on the school's webpage and say, parents, this is something you need to view, something to do with our safety protocol or something like that on this particular document. And they can then click on that link and they'll be able to see that Google Doc and be able to access that. But interestingly, we still see here that we have a choice to even make all the parents or anyone in the world with an internet connection with that particular link could then become an editor if we selected that. That would be a little silly, but at least that option is there. So that's where we've set this up to at this point. I could click done and be done, but if at some point we decide, well, I'll go ahead and click it. So there we go. So I'm going to right click it on there now and go to share. And so we still see the individuals who are editors or commenters right there, but we also have anyone on the internet with a link can actually click on it and be able to have access to that. If we want to change it, we can then click change, hit the little more button here and change it back to just our school district, whoever has the link, or just get rid of the link and make it not work anymore and say restricted. And so now it's only the people whose names you see appear is going to work. I select done, go over here again, right click on it, go back to share, and now you can see it's just those individuals. And if there's someone else in the office I need to add, like poor Paul's feeling a little left out, Sir Paul, so we can go ahead and add him back, and we'll make him an editor. And click there. And now when we go back to check it, now that it's been saved, we see that all 4 of them are now back on the list because it's restricted to just those individuals that we put their email addresses in. And again, if you're working within a department or the school site and you've got dozens of email addresses of people that you're going to share it with, you can always copy and paste that email address list from some other document and simply just paste it right up here and very quickly be able to add all of those people. So thank you for coming to join us to learn how to share a Google Doc. And I hope that's been helpful to you. And please remember to spread the word about the office skills training. We've got lots of videos and lots of classes every quarter for you to come participate in and to have your questions answered. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.